Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So we are from the sixth group. We are going to presentation for the chapter 8. It's about the role of materials in the language classroom, finding the balance. So the first speaker, it's me, Nurul Izza Mubarok, and I will be the moderator too. And the second speaker is Azizah. So I will explain you what is the importance of learning materials. So the learning materials are important because they can significantly increase student achievement by support worksheet may provide a student with important opportunities to practice a new skill gain in class. So I will introduce to what is the role of materials in the language classroom, finding the balance. And then including the textbooks and explores to opposing points of view. And then for some commercial materials, the skilled teacher and rob them of their capacity and to think professionally and respond to their student. So the second part of the discussion is to explore the 8 key of assumptions which the author believes about the underpin materials if they are to enhance the learning environment to the classroom. And then the teacher's guide may provide a helpful scaffold for learning to think pedagogically about particular content and considering the relationship between what the teachers and students are doing and what our students are supposed to be learning. So this kind of thinking about ends and means is not the same as following the teacher's guide like a script. Okay, so another function for the textbooks is often overlooked is their role as structuring tool. Communicative language classes are social events and so inherently unpredictable and potentially tethering, such as those experienced by teachers implementing new periods of change. And then it also serves as a useful map or plan of what is intended and expected, thus allowing to another also pains to see where lesson a lesson fits into the wider context of the language program. Hutchinson and Tours suggest that this is important because it allows for the first is negotiation, the second is accountability, and the third is orientation. So what is the negotiation? Negotiation is the textbook can actually contribute by providing something to the negotiate about. This can include teacher and learner roles as well as content and learning strategies. And the second one is accountability. It's the textbook shows all stakeholders what is being done in the closed and open world of the classroom. So the third one is about orientation. Teachers and learners need to know what is happening elsewhere, what standards are expected, and then how much work should be covered, and so on. So again, it's a question balance using a textbook and reduce some option for learners, but it can also allow for greater autonomy. They can, for example, and then know what to expect, and then better take the charge of their own learning. So it may be the sense of control which explain like that. Okay, so thank you for me. So the next speaker will be delivered by Nur Azizah. The time is yours.
Okay, thank you for Assalamualaikum. So my name is Azizah. I want to explain you about effective teaching materials. Materials visually reflect the readers' views of language and learners and teachers and students. We will respond according to how well these match their own beliefs and expectations. If this material ought to be helpful, this underlying principle need to make explicit and an object of discussion for both student and teachers. The remainder of this paper looks at the assumption about language and learning which the author believes should underpin material use in language classroom. Individual end users will, of course, weight this factor differently, differently and so need to adapt the materials to their own context and learnings. In terms of our present understanding of second language learning, however, effective materials are likely to reflect the following statements. One is language is functional and needs to be contextualized. Language is because of the purpose we put into. For this reason, materials must contextualize the language they present. Without knowledge of what is going on, would the participant are and their social and psychological distance in time and space from the event refers to. It is impossible to understand the real meaning of the interaction. In other words, language, whether in input or linear output, shows emergence from the context in which it occurs. One possible way to build a shared context for learning and their teachers is to use video drama. And next is language development, encourage learner engagement in purposeful use of language. The purpose of input and output materials should thus be on workplace language in use rather than one so-called building block to be used some later date. This does not mean that our show be not focused on form, but rather than from normally comes out of whole texts which have already been processed for meaning. A study of grammar looks at how such texts use the system to express meaning and achieve certain purpose. And next is the language used should be realistic and authentic. An outcome of our understanding that language is a social practice has been in place called for the use of authentic materials rather than the more contrived and artificial language often found in traditional textbooks. The problem with using authentic the materials which has not been specifically produced for the purpose of language teaching. Is very difficult to find such material which scaffold the learning process by remaining within manageable fields. And next is classroom material will usually stick to input and audiovisual components. This statement is true not only because we live in increasingly multimedia world in which advances in technology allow for expanding flexible in delivery, but also because such materials can create a learning environment that is rich in linguistic and cultural information about the target language. Materials such as video and multimedia allow teachers and learners to explore the nonverbal and cultural aspect of language as well as the verbal uh, intonation, gesture, meme, facial expression, body posture, and so on are all essential channels of communication which not only help learners understand the verbal language to which they are exposed, but also are an intelligent part of the system of meaning which they are seeking to learn. And next is in our modern technologically complex world, speaking language learners need to develop the ability to deal with written as well as spoken genres. Reading material will normally need to cover a range of genres, possibly including computer literary. This will emerge from the context and be accompanied by activities and exercise which explore both the meaning in that context and in if appropriate, they schematic structure and language features. The extent to which teachers focus explicitly on the latter will depend on the needs and goals they realize, and whether this kind of analysis fits with learning preference for many learners. However, this reading material will provide model which can be used to develop familiarity with the structure of such text and provide a scaffold to assist with the learners. And next is effective teaching materials foster learning autonomy. Given the context depends nature of language, not language course can predict how their language need of learning and move state. Therefore, to prepare them to deal independently with the language they encounter as they move into new situations. The activities and material proposed must to be flexible, designed to develop skill and strategies which can be transferred to other texts in other contexts. The material readers can also suggest follow-up activities to encourage this process and to provide any additional practice for those who need to. This is not only assist teachers in catering to a range of learning styles and levels, but also contributors to developing their teaching repertoire. And next is materials need to be flexible enough to cater to individual and contextual difference. Although language is social practice, learning a language is largely an individual process as learners seek to integrate newly perceived information into their exciting language system. It is essential for teachers to recognize the different background, experience, and learning style that students bring to the language classroom and the impact this experience have on what aspects of the input are likely to become impact. In other words, it is to large extent the learners, not the teachers, who control what is learned. Science is it they who selectively organize the sensory input into meaningful words. And next is learning needs to engage learners both effectively and communically. The language classroom involved an encounter of identities and cultures, and it needs to be recognized that language learning um, requires the active participation of the whole learners. The integration of new knowledge into the learner exercising language system occurs with certain only when the language is used spontaneously in communicative or purposeful situation to express the learner's own meaning. Such real communication, however, implies an engagement of learner's interest and will depend in part at least on the presence of positive growth dynamics in classroom. The input from the materials provided in history and culture preparation before or in parallel with the learning generalized language, which is the ultimate goals of learning process. And conclusion is in this article, I have looked at roles pre-planned teaching materials can can play and argue. Their contribution needs to be really choosing to teachers and learners. They can skateboard the work of both teachers and learners and even serve as agents of change. Provide they act as goods and negotiation points rather than straight tickets. In selection material, of course, practitioner need to look carefully at the principle underpinning such material to ensure that they contribute positively to the learning and environment. environment. This article outlines a assumption about language and learning which seem applies in the light of our current understanding of the learning process, and which suggests that we take advantage not just of reading but also different audiovisual media to embrace the classroom learning context. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for the second speaker, Nur Azizah. So the conclusion of these raw materials is we obviously need much more information about how we and our students use the materials to facilitate learning, guiding and current learning, and it's even challenge. So the teachers and learners and the presentation of language input without becoming prescriptive and missing the teachers and the learners' autonomy. So it's a fine balancing act. Okay, so thank you. Maybe this is for us. I'm Nurul Izza Mubarok and we're Azizah from the sixth group. Thank you. So, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.